from our 15 days result marathon program. And of course, today, I want us to look at a couple of things, and we can end for today. You know, there is this attitude of people desiring to make big things, to achieve big things. And when you want to do a big thing, it is important to get the mental pattern of how you're going to achieve that big thing. It is one thing to have big dreams, but it is another thing to go through the creative process or to intentionally build your mindset to establish that mental pattern, that can lead you to actually achieve that big thing. And one of the outcomes of that mental pattern is for you to make the mental pattern to be perfect, to know what the mental pattern means, to know what a big thing means, and to enlarge your thoughts in the direction of what you want to achieve. So if you desire big things, you need to intentionally enlarge your thoughts in that direction so you can be able to achieve whatever you're looking at. Let's say, for example, you run a business right now, and you're in a small location, right? And it is one thing. Okay, let me say a practical example. So I started teaching and doing all of these things I'm doing today in Kumbu, right? And I remember one time telling one of my very close friends, who are still very close today, telling him that I want to build one of the most successful training and consulting careers from Kumbu to across the globe, across Africa. How I'll do that, I didn't know. But that was just level one of the process. The next step was for me now to start establishing a mental pattern, a mental process, a creative process. And this also goes with actions. What I need to see, I need to establish a pattern that needs to get me to speak in Nigeria, to speak in Casablanca in Morocco, to speak in Johannesburg, South Africa, to speak in Nairobi, Kenya, to speak in Zanzibar in Tanzania, to speak in Zomba in Malawi. All of these things, I needed to establish this pattern, this pattern, and then I needed to make it perfect in my mind, even though my present location did not authorize me to have that kind of thinking. But that's one magical thing about thinking the right way. You can transcend from your present location to another location, and what is separating you from that present location to that location you have established in your mind is the kind of thinking, the kind of creative thinking you have in place, and secondly, the kind of creative actions that you're taking to get to that place. And most importantly, you are respecting the place of time. And in this place of time, you are being patient in the right way, patient, taking the right actions, patient and growing, patient and having the right thought, patient and practicing. Because one thing in the journey of success is patience with the right habits. Patience and understanding that while I am patient, I am perfecting my expertise, I am perfecting my ability to produce the right result, so that when the time comes for me to manifest, I will be qualified enough to manifest. You get the point? So enlarge your thought, and most importantly, keep it to yourself and pass it over to the creative power behind all things. Yes, when you have this mental pattern, when you have the conviction, you know what your dreams mean to you, you know what your goals mean to you, you need to pass it on to the creative power behind all things. You need to pass it on to God behind all things. And what is the best way to pass it on? By number one, making sure that your ecosystem, making sure that your success atmosphere is in sync, is in direct collaboration with God's own atmosphere. Number two, by declarations, by making declarations to to what you desire to see. You pass it on the best way by declaring, because you know that you and the creative power are one. You and God's ecosystem, your ecosystem and God's own ecosystem, you guys are one. And the best way that you can transcend the things you desire from your ecosystem to God's own ecosystem is for you to declare those things. And then when you do all of that, wait and listen. Wait in the right habits, wait by taking the right actions, wait with the right thinking, and then in the process of waiting, make sure you pay attention and listen. Do not be distracted by other people's success. Do not be distracted by what other people think. Do not be distracted by your present condition. Do not be distracted by what people say, oh, you cannot make it in Cameroon, you cannot make it in Africa, you cannot do this. Don't be distracted by all of that. And when you have done all of this, follow your path with assurance and conviction. This is very important. Follow your path with assurance and conviction. Many people are still not able to handle something tangible in their business careers. Many people are not still able to handle something tangible in their professional careers because they are not yet operating from the place of assurance and conviction. They are not yet following their path. They are not yet following your business path with all assurance and conviction. You are still everywhere but nowhere. Nobody can look at you and say, okay, you know what? This is the path that this one has chosen to follow. Even God's own ecosystem, God cannot look and say, okay, you know what? This one has chosen this particular mission. That's why yesterday I was challenging all of you in the group. Write down your personal mission. Write it down in the group. Let us look at it. Let us talk about it. It's very critical. Because when you need to know it often. If you are listening to me right now and you cannot tell me your mission, your personal mission statement offhand, then you have not immersed yourself into it, and you have no assurance of the path that you have chosen to take. You need to know your personal mission offhand. They wake you up from bed, you know it offhand, you talk about it. And one thing about your personal mission statement is that you use it to make decisions. Is that central point where you make core life decisions around whatever you do. You don't just get up and travel out of the country or relocate to another country because you saw an opportunity. No, you need to start, is this within my life mission? Is it within the path that I have assurance that this is where I'm going to? You see, somebody was asking me yesterday about my life plan, and there are some things I said, okay, I said this one is the focus is just the African continent, and this one, the focus is all continents. And she was like, okay, so if this one has open doors in other continents, you're not gonna take. I said, no, I was very clear about that. This one is not meant to exist out of the African continent. I know where it's going to. Its boundaries, its impact, its significance, its assurance path is within the African continent, full stop. And for the next 80 years, the work that will be done based on this particular platform is within the African continent. When it comes to this particular one, the target is the global context, is the global scene. You see, because the mission is very clear. And one thing about this book is talking about is when you have this clear dream and this mental pattern, be careful how you talk about it to people. There are some stuffs that you need to only talk to people that you have peace of your mind is at peace, and you have this connection, you have this strong conviction that this is the person that can help you to achieve this mental pattern that you have established, and you feel at peace talking with this person, and you understand that this person has only the best for you. They're going to give you advice without reservations. And that's one thing with mentorship. Mentorship comes in, right? There are some things that I can teach those that I have an established mentorship relationship with, because I freely teach and I will not reserve things that others get to pay hundreds of thousands of francs to learn and get. And that's one thing with mentorship is it's like you're giving a part of you to people who sometimes, in quotes, they don't deserve it. Because in the journey of success in life, there are some things that you will not deserve to get for free. You have to deserve it by paying for it. And in mentorship, it gets challenging because you get to teach people in quotes who don't deserve it, who have not earned what you're teaching them, and you're forced to transfer that to them for free at totally no investment cost from their part, because you have chosen to do so and because there is a connection. And that's why it gets to hurt when people don't get to value the things that you teach, especially through mentorship program. You see, or people get to, I'm not saying that my mentees backstab and disrespect and all of that. When they get to it, it hurts you, not because really they're backstabbing you, because there's really nothing they can do as far as that is concerned. They can just talk about it, but they just get hurt that you go the extra mile to give it to people, to give it to people for free, and you get to see the value that people pay for it and say thank you for teaching them this thing while they have paid for you, while you give it to some group of people for free, and they don't place a certain level of value to it. That is it. It gets hurting when you see value and how people value something and how people mistreat something, and like, but what is the difference? It can be so challenging and so painful. So pay attention to that. So pay attention to who you communicate your mental patterns to. Don't just talk about it anyhow. You can talk about it up, but when it comes to the details, only open it to the people that you have a strong connection with and who have your best interest at heart. That's why you need to be careful about your close circle. Very, very important. And when you have your mental pattern, you need to pay attention to not listen to negative talk, right? Or pay attention to it. And when you've gone through this process, you have the ability to succeed where others fail. Yes, yes, you have that ability to succeed where others fail. When you have that ability to have access to intentionally connect to superior understanding, superior knowledge, superior ideas, superior wisdom, superior guidance, and you have that creative mental pattern established, you have that ability to expand your thoughts, you have that ability to pass on your creative pattern to the power behind all things, then you have that ability to limit yourself from listening to negative self-talk or paying attention to any negative talk, then, and you have that ability to succeed when it comes to taking massive action because you have the support of the right creative intelligence, then one thing is for sure, you have the ability to succeed where others will fail. Yes, look at life carefully. You see that there are places where other people fail while some people come and make it big. There's something that separates those who fail and those who succeed, right? And remember that we are not dealing with conditions, we are dealing with causes. Be very careful. Don't use your conditions and define your life. Majority of the human race deal with conditions. They react based on conditions. But people that have access to superior understanding, what do? They deal with causes. What can I do? What cause can I take that will give me the effect I'm looking for? Don't react on conditions and expect life to give you something that's not going to happen. That is basically future impossible tense. You need to pay attention. What is the cause? You need to deal with the cause because it is the cause that produces the effect. So if you need the effect of success to happen, what is the cause? If you need to have a lazy outcomes, then the cause is sleep a lot, move around a lot, do nothing tangible. That is the cause that's going to produce the conditions of laziness and failure and all of that. Okay, so always be conscious about it. You, as you set out this week, you are not dealing with conditions. Always focus on the cause. What can I cause? What can I cause that's going to produce the kind of effect I desire? You see, and causes originate only from the unseen side of life. Yes. Anything that causes a tangible effect originate from the unseen side of life. That's originate from your mind, originate from your powerful thoughts, originate from your ability to communicate from your ecosystem to God's own ecosystem, or from your atmosphere to God's own atmosphere. You see, so we are living in the outer world of effects and in the inner world of causes. Yes. we are living in the outer world of effects and in the inner world of causes. That's why the personal sacrifices you're doing right now, the public cannot see. The public will only see the effects. And when they see the effects, people who are good at paying attention to how things happen, they can start estimating the kind of causes you did behind the scenes that they were not seeing. So the question I have for you is, what kind of causes are you executing? What kind of things are you putting to work so that you are able to handle the kind of effects that others cannot handle? So these causes we set in motion by our thoughts. Yes, these causes we set in motion by our thoughts through the power inherent within the causes, right? Because every human being has access to that power within the causes and expresses the thought as a condition. Yes, thought is the fundamental of all conditions. It follows that the cause must be equal to the effect and that the effect always evaluate within the cause held within the mind. Everything comes from one substance, and our thought qualifies that substance and determine what is to take place in our life. Everything comes from one substance, and our thoughts, our mental capabilities qualify that substance and determines what is to take place in our lives. And because we are limited, is no reason why the universe should have limitation. Yes, as human beings, based on our human capabilities, we are limited. But you should not take that and establish that the universe and establish that God is limited or God's own ecosystem is limited. Yes, we are limited as human beings, but there is an ecosystem that we have access to that is limitless, right? And that's why the writer says that our limitation is only our unbelief. Life can give us a big thing, and life can give us a little thing. Very, very powerful. Our limitation is only our unbelief. That's one thing with the human capabilities. We can quickly have unbelief. You can quickly have unbelief about your own career. There are people who have unbelief about the size of your business. There are people that their present mindset don't yet have the ability to accommodate that their business can grow up one day and make 1 billion francs in profit every month. They have not grown to that level to accommodate that. Their belief system ends at a certain level. There are people that all they desire right now is that if I can be making just 500,000 francs a month, I am fine. That is where their belief system ends. People who make 1 billion francs plus a month are able to do that because their belief is able to accommodate that. Life can give us a big thing and life can give us a little thing. The kind of bigness that you receive from life or you achieve in life is determined by the level of your belief system. Do you believe in that limitless possibilities that life can give you? Or do you believe in the little things that life can give you? So, one of the most necessary things to remember is that we cannot demonstrate life beyond our mental ability to embody. Yes, your realities, your life realities, you cannot demonstrate life beyond your mental ability. So what am I saying? The kind of career that you're demonstrating right now, the kind of monthly income you're demonstrating right now, the kind of business success you're demonstrating right now is directly related to your mental ability. So you must remember that. And it's a very necessary thing in life. One of the most necessary things in life is to remember that we cannot demonstrate life beyond our mental ability to embody what we desire to see. And that is why, in order to have success, we must first conceive it in our own thoughts. In order to have success, we must first conceive that success in our own thought. And this is not because we are creators, No, we are not creators per se. There's a higher creator. We only create from the creator. Be very conscious about that. And that's why you need to believe that you and creator are one. You function in sync with the creator. You create from the creator. And that's why if you don't acknowledge the creator, your ability to create will be limitless, will be limited, right? So in order to have success, we must first conceive it in our own thoughts. And this is not because we are the primary creators per se, no, but because the flow of life into manifestation through us must take the form we give it through our minds. And if we want things, if we want a thing, we must have within ourselves. We must have within ourselves the mental equivalent before we can get it. If we want a thing, we must have within ourselves the mental equivalent before we can get it. Don't forget this. If we want a thing in our career, if you want a United Nations job, you must have within yourself the mental equivalence to get it. The mental equivalence is you believe that you deserve this. Number one, you believe that you have the abilities to do the UN job. Number two, you believe that you have the skill set that United Nations is looking for. It's a three-phase thing. One, the first step is to believe it, that you deserve the United Nations job. That's one thing. The second thing is you are confident. Do you believe that you have the ability to get the job done? The third thing is, do you have the skill set that the United Nations is looking for in the kind of professionals they want them to work for? It's the same for business. If we want a thing about our business, we must have within ourselves the mental equivalence that this business can produce £1 million in monthly profit. The business can expand to 10 cities, and the business can have 10 branches and employ 1,000 people and producing £10 million in monthly profit. You must first believe that. This is what Jesus meant when he said that we must believe when we pray. Right? Remember that verse. We must believe when we pray. This belief is providing within us that something which knows before it sees what it asks for. As people who know, you know it, that is going to happen before you ask for it. So as water will reach only its own level, so our outward conditions will reproduce only our inner realizations. Yes, the outward conditions for our career, the outward conditions for our business, the outward conditions for our relationships, the outward conditions of the kind of happiness we need in life, the outward conditions will only reproduce our inner realizations. So, in other words, your present conditions, your present life, where you are right now as far as your career is concerned, where you are right now as far as your business is concerned, where you are right now as far as your finances are concerned, as far as your love life is concerned, and whatsoever, directly correspond to the level of your inner realizations. I was talking to a young person one time, and all she needed was a job that can pay her 100,000 francs. She has never had a job that has paid her more than that. So all she desires, all her desires at that particular job, all her inner realizations, I just wish I can get a job someday that can pay me 100,000 francs. Right? And when you start thinking and building that kind of a mental picture, that is what gets to you. That is what you will get very, very soon. That's what God's own universe will release into your own universe, and that's what you're going to get. You see, so old thoughts must be destroyed. Yes, you have to destroy old thoughts, and new ones must take their places. Old thoughts must be destroyed, and new ones must take their places. You know, somebody asked a question on Facebook the other day, and I reacted on that question. The person was asking, "What are those things that you have now, which when you were growing up, you thought that only a particular people in life have it? What are those things that you have right now? which when you were growing up, you thought that only a particular people had it. And when you're growing up, that is what your mindset had. That's what your mind actually certified that only you can never have access to. As long as the way that your family is struggling, the way you're poor, you know that you will never have these things, right? And your mind was thinking based on the exposure of the mind and the level of that mind. And then I said something that was funny. People had a lot of reactions to it, which was true. I did not ever believe that I would ever have a laptop of my own. Like, remember in 2000, and I used to do computer repairs, but in 2011 and 12 or so, when you see somebody with a laptop, my goodness, that is that guy is from another realm. Or remember the days of having smartphones, like camera phones and all of that? Yes, like the days of high school, we used to know that if you see only ministers' sons when you were in progressive in those days when the sons of powerful people and people in Cameroon used to come to study in progressive and their boarding students. So we knew that only them could have access to a certain kind of phone. We will never reach that level. I didn't know that I would have a smartphone someday or a laptop someday. And I also said that one thing I said was living in a story building, right? And I remember those days growing up, for you to see a house, first of all, that's a story building in our location was, you needed to fast and pray. Not to talk of having a friend who their family lives in a story building. That was another different prayer point, right? So why was that happening? That was the kind of exposure that the mind had at that time. And then the belief system was that we will never get to that level. It's only selected for a selected few. And automatically, if you don't change that consciousness, if you don't delete the old thoughts, you don't remove the old thoughts and start taking actions towards that direction, you are going to remain in that particular area. And your life will never produce the right things because your life is being controlled by certain old thoughts. That's one thing that you need to do. Find time and look at what are those old thoughts that are still controlling your life. They're still controlling the kind of actions that you take. Because every time the old thought comes, they will always define the kind of actions that you take. And it's your responsibility to identify those old thoughts and declare that they have no part in your life. They have no power over you. Declare that all life, all love, all power are now your life. Declare that you are now in the midst of plenty. You are now in the midst of goodness. You are now in the midst of greatness. You are now in the midst of influence. You are in the midst of power. You are in the midst of wealth. You need to have that consciousness and that declaration and take actions towards it. And there are some particular actions that you can take towards certain things that will help you beat the old habits. There are some things I started doing. For example, a few years back, I made some decisions. There are certain things that I need to discipline myself and respect, not because I'm competing with anybody, but because I am fighting certain old thoughts. I am trying to break out of certain old thoughts because when you grow up in lack, like my family grew up perpetually in lack. So there are certain things that we are not used to getting. And the only way for me to beat that is for me to take certain actions. Number one, for example, is that what I need to do is that I don't have a car now. So when I'm traveling public transport, I like to pay for tools that be very comfortable. For example, right? If like events, I'm going for events, I make sure that I don't repeat a dress in an event, right? It's intentional, not because I'm competing with anybody. Then I started identifying some particular areas I need to live in because by default, people go to some areas because houses are cheap in that area, right? So for me, I prefer to choose some particular areas to live in so that I don't get to see certain stuff. I'm living, let's say I used to live in Bonamosadi, it was intentional. I now moved to Bonaberry. Bonaberry is considered that, but there are some areas in Bonaberry or some houses in Bonaberry that you live in is different. And it's intentional. You keep on taking those small steps that you can do. I learned that thing from Pastor Otta Mensah, a pastor in Ghana. He said that he changed his life from living from lack to abundance. These bosses in Ghana they call trotro, right? So he said He'd rather let I will stop entering troll like these buses that you can enter from Banaberi to Ndokong or to another place. Ndokoti, these small buses, you enter, people are choked in like sardine, right? Maybe you used to trek. They now say, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop trekking and I start entering the bus. And after the bus, okay, you know what? I'll start getting taxis. And after getting a taxi, you can say, you know what? I'll stop fighting taxi with people. I'll start getting a private ride, for example. From there, you say you make sure that you're taking intentional actions, or you're living in a particular quarter where it's considered for a particular class of people, like the lower class of people. You can have a plan to leave that quarter and go to a better quarter where you're going to be around people that are going somewhere in life. It's intentional. You live in a quarter, people recognize that, okay, this quarter is for people that can afford this particular living standard. You're not doing it because you're competing. You're doing it because you desire to conquer certain thoughts, right? We can go same to education. You have just advanced level, you strive up to get a degree or you get a master's. You're not doing that because you want to please the government or you want to get a job. No, you're doing that because you want to break out from certain old things in your life and become better for yourself. You see, you can decide that there's a certain way that you can dress before you leave the house. You're not doing that because you want to impress anybody, but because you want to break some old patterns. Like us, we grew up knowing that there are certain dresses that you only wear on Sundays, you only wear on special days. Like for the almost all of my life till high school, that's what I knew. But I didn't know that you can just have nice dresses and wear anyhow. I didn't know that, like honest, because we grew up knowing that there are some dresses that you only wear on these days, and when you come back, they wash it and keep it back into a particular place. You only go to take that particular dress on a particular day, right? And unconsciously, that we grew up with that old pattern, and it's deep in our minds. It's so deep in our minds that it affects every other thing that we do as far as we are concerned. So you need to have a plan to identify those old thoughts and those old patterns and and begin to conquer them. Why? Because the law is not broken. The law of abundance, the law of success is not broken. The law is still at work, and the law will still work out for us if we continue to use the law the right way. But the law will not work for us. The law of success, the law of abundance will not work for us if we use it the wrong way. So we need to reverse it and use it for our own good. What do you do that? Think and act in a different way, right? Think and act in a different way consistently, because the law is still the same law that other great people are using, and it's still the same law today. So we can change our flow so that instead of the law limiting us, or instead of us limiting ourselves, we are pushing ourselves freely and experiencing the blessings that humanity has for us. The ordinary individual unknowingly does some things that destroys them. For example, like like somebody, I see people looking, they look for things only in a particular area because they believe that based on where they are, based on their status, this is where they fit in, right? Good. The ordinary individual unknowingly does something that destroys any possibility of getting good results in the demonstration of prosperity. So avoid being ordinary. Avoid doing things unknowingly. Do things from the place of consciousness, from the place of intentionality, from the place of commitment, and from the place of having a clear plan of the kind of things that you desire to actually handle. So if we do not at the present time love all people and believe that we can be at the best place in life, we're not going to handle these things, right? We must learn how to love people. We must learn how to become better. We must learn how to condemn that which is not taking us to the right places. And we must learn to behold only good things. Why? Because God is good and God is love. And more than this, we cannot ask nor conceive anything that is tangible. Anything that we must eliminate is talking about limitations. Anything that we must eliminate is being around environments that limit our potentials and our capabilities. We must not even think about limitations. We must not read about limitations or have any connection with limitation. For we get only that which we think, We get only that which we consciously immerse ourselves in, no more, no less. Because success will be hard for us to do if we are thinking in the left directions and hoping for things to come to us in the right directions. Every step in advance is an eternal step. Know this carefully. Every step, like getting up for the last 15 days or 14 days, every step that you take in advance is an eternal step. And that eternal step is either adding value to your life or taking value away from your life. And will never have to be taken again. You will never have the 4 a.m. of today. You have taken it already. So if you started out by sleeping and you're only catching up and joining the session right now, you have done it already. You are late already. You have missed it on those few minutes or on that 1 hour. You have missed already. The only option you have is try to take the right step from now henceforth, right? We are not building for a day. We are not building for a year. We are building for all time and for all eternity. Yes, when you're taking actions, know that you're not building for a day, you're not building for a year. This is what you're building: a legacy, you're building a generation, you're building for the future, right? What we do need to feel is that since God is all and God is good, He wants us to have only good. We need to have this consciousness. Since God is everything and God is good, He wants us to have only good things. And feeling this, we should take what is already made for us, which are good things. Our attitude towards such a good Father should constantly be one of thanksgiving, right? Don't always look at your life and see only the bad things happening, but always be very grateful about the good things that you already have. Victory will always be on our side. That the majority of your thoughts rests on in absolute acceptance. Victory will always be on the side that the majority of your thoughts rests on in absolute acceptance. Yes, you will always have victory on your side if your thoughts are right, if your thoughts are those of goodness and those of greatness, those of abundance. Each victory will strengthen us until the time will come when we will no longer have to say, I hope or I believe, but I know. That's one thing with small wins. That's why it's good to celebrate small wins. Like if you are able to wake up, if this is the 14th day, you have been waking up every day at 4 a.m. and you have been participating throughout the coaching every day, celebrate it, right? Celebrate yourself for it. That's what the author is saying. Victory, each victory will strengthen us. Each victory will strengthen you until the time will come when you will no longer have to say, I wish I could be getting up at 4 a.m. or I hope this. You're no longer hoping, you're no longer believing, but you now know. You're not sleeping and wishing that, oh, I'm praying that I should get up at 4. No, you know that you're going to wake up at 4. You're no longer wishing, I hope I'm going to succeed someday. No, you already know that you are a success. Just time is separating you from that success. You already know that you're a success. You are condemned to abundance. You are condemned for wealth. That is default. You're already operating from that realm of assurance and consciousness and conviction. Believe then that your word is to be acted upon by an almighty power. Yes, when you say things into your future, into your business, into your career, believe that your word is to be acted upon by an almighty power. Feel it is great, it is a great reality already. In and through all things, you speak into it. Declare just what you wish to see, just what you wish it to do for you. Never doubting in your own power, in your own mind, but that it will do just as you have directed. Yes, have that consciousness. Have that consciousness that the power available to you will do that which you have directed. One of the first things then is to be definite about what you want in life. One of the first things then is to have that mental likeness of the thing that you desire and to know exactly what you want. The inner man is always in immediate connection with the infinite of understanding. That's God. The inner man, that's your inner man, your spirit. Your spirit is always in immediate connection with the infinite of understanding. That's why you need to avoid things that distort your spirit, things that disconnect you from your spirit. Avoid like anger, like jealousy, like what? Like anything discussions that can dirty your spirit is very important. So yeah, since your spirit has the power to always have the immediate connection with the infinite understanding or the infinite power of God. We are immersed in a living intelligence. That's God. We are surrounded by a power that knows, for in him we live and move and have our being. We are surrounded by a power that knows, have this immediate understanding. You need to have that conscience and that conviction that you are constantly surrounded by a power that knows everything, by the source of everything. Hence, that's what the Bible says, that in him we live, in him we move, and in him we have our being. All right, people, that is it for today. And I hope that you made some decisions, you got some value, and it's going to make you more resourceful, more successful, more committed, and more productive as you face this new week.